Okay folks, another little update. As we currently stand, I've now fastened on the exhaust, which I'll show you around the other side because it will be easier to see. I've done the same on both sides, and what I've actually done is I've drilled and tapped the holes so that I have been able to use a tiny little 4mm bolt with a blunt end. Basically the reason for this being, if the bolt does vibrate loose and come out, it's less likely to get caught in the tyre, whereas a self-tapping screw, for example, could be more dangerous. So yeah, I've done the same on both sides. You can actually see both sides, drilled and tapped through the frame, fasten that on, and I'll refasten those with a dab of thread for the first run. I've also fitted the carburettor. The carburettor itself, it's a pinch bolt, a flat-headed bolt and a crosshead screw on that side. Slide it onto the inlet manifold and tighten up the pinch bolt to make sure that it's level, so that when the bike's upright, the float bowl is upright. Follow the cable along there, and it needs tidying up, but that's going up to the throttle there. And this is roughly adjusted to give a small amount of play. You can see that there. That's your typical play that you have on a throttle, and then from that point on you can probably hear that slide moving there. And the cable itself I've greased with silicone grease, which comes in a spray can. WD-40 is recommended in a lot of places, but the problem with WD-40 is it's not really a lubricant. It's a freeing, a penetrating agent, and it does wear off very, very quickly. So some proper spray grease or even a drop of oil run down the cables far better for longevity. So I've also fitted the wiring down here and mounted the cut-off point there, the earthing point to the frame. That's the other wire there, which needs to connect to one of the wires coming out of the engine, which also joins to one of the wires coming out of the CDI here, which I've mounted up here with the HT lead going to the plug cap. These just bolt on with a clamp. Now I was going to mount it down here, but this frame, obviously this is designed to... What I did next was fit the throttle cable. Just up here on the bar you'll see the actual... what I did next was to fit the clutch cable. So if you look up here on the bar, you'll see the actual clutch cable with a locking pin. And this effectively locks the clutch open so that you can pedal the bike. And when you release that and let that out, that engages the clutch, which drives the engine as you're pedaling it and starts it. Now you can get a fancy combined unit with a thumb clutch and brake, or it's a thumb brake, one or the other, which I might look into in the future depending, but for the moment this will do fine. And the brake lever I just moved down, the reason being so I can still reach that regardless of whether this is operational or not. Just give a little bit of a gap there. And the cable again runs down here, and it needs tidying up. I've got to route all these cables and tidy them, and both the throttle cable and the clutch cable are actually quite long for this particular bicycle. There's a large spring section there which is to protect the cable sheath from the engine heat, basically to stop it touching the engine and melting through. This goes through a hole in the casing there, comes out of the other side here, where there's a smaller spring which goes up to the actuating arm here, and there's a little fastener, a brass fastener with a bolt which clamps onto the cable. And if I can pull the lever while I'm aiming at that, you see how that works. Simple sprung mechanism, and what this does is it turns a bar down there, it turns a bar inside here which is stepped, which pushes a push rod straight through the spindle, right through the engine, to the other side of the engine, to the clutch which is in here, and engages and disengages the clutch accordingly. So that's where we're at the moment. We've got the throttle cable and throttle twist grip and the kill switch fitted. I just need to sort the wiring out now, which is a simple case of a couple of bits of wire and plugging it all together. What I did with the bar, as I mentioned previously, rather than using sandpaper on this fish, I cheated and took the wire drill bit, I cheated and I took the wire brush in the drill and just quickly skimmed it off with that, and that's made the throttle a nice grip on there without being snatchy or draggy. And then sat on the bike to adjust it to a comfortable position, nip it up tight. Carburettor, just a pinch bolt, and then it's a case of finding suitable routing for the cable and fastening it with zip ties at some point. And then of course the clutch cable, the same thing there, and again it's a case of fastening it on with zip ties. The cable clamp you just undo at the bar, slide on, clamp up tight. And then there's another throttle grip which is a simple push on which matches this one, just like a motorbike, and just pushes onto the bar. And the HT lead and the CDI is simplicity itself. It just clamps onto the frame, plugs onto there, and then you've got your two wires coming out of there, which depending on your position you can either plug directly into the wires coming out of the engine. The white one is a 6 volt feed if you want to use a light, and then you've got the blue and the black one there, which just plug in respectively into the blue and the black one on your CDI. It's as simple as that. And your wire of course from here, which I believe goes to the black wire, just in between the two of them, and that acts as your kill switch. That actually kills the signal when you need to stop the engine. So we've fastened the exhaust, fitted the throttle and carburettor, fitted the clutch and fitted the CDI. Next step, I'm going to be fitting the fuel tank and getting that in place, and then following that it's going to be the back wheel off to fit the rear sprocket, fit the chain, and we're almost there. Thanks for watching so far. Bye for now.